agency has so far observed waves up to 140 centimeters. The tsunami warning for coastal areas of Fukushima and Miyagi prefectures are in effect. The agency says there's a possibility a wave could reach as high as 3 meters. You're now looking at video of Sendai in Miyagi prefecture during the quake. As you can see, our cameras are moving quite violently there. Video of Sendai, Miyagi prefecture during the quake.
Hard to believe that we may be experiencing even more intense Earth changes soon. And I wanted to ask you, what should we expect during the last 7 weeks before the passage of Planet X?
Okay, we're going to assume that all of your listeners know about Planet X, that this is the 12th planet of our solar system as written by Zecharia Sitchin. And it comes through every 3,600 years, and we're living during that time. And each time when it passes, it causes great havoc to our planet. And things are revving up. We've all witnessed the earthquake and the tsunami and the nuclear reactor in Japan. And that's only the beginning, I hate to say. We have been told by the Zetas. Now, the Zetas are extraterrestrials from Zeta Reticuli, and their information is coming through Nancy Leader, who is their emissary here in the United States, and they have been so right on. It's like, it's unbelievable, their percentage of accuracy. So they're telling us, they're giving us guidelines so that we can sort of get an idea of when the actual planet is going to pass and when the Earth is going to shift on its axis, and what we need to do if we want to survive. And during the last 7 weeks, we know that there will be 9 days of a severe wobble, and your guests might want to get a pencil out. They may want to just jot down some notes here. But 9 days of a severe wobble, and then about 4.5 days of the planet leaning way over to the left. As Nibiru, Planet X, comes toward the Earth, we lean over to try to get away from it because the electromagnetic particles are causing a lot of static and confusion, and we want to get away from it. So we're leaning to the left. Then there's 2.5 days of progression towards a 3-day of darkness. So certainly when we get it's the northern hemisphere that will experience the 3 days of darkness. That's when the planet tips way back, the North Pole tips way back away from the sun, which is away from Planet X because it's trying to get away from it. And that'll give us 3 days of darkness. So when we experience that, then we know that it's pretty soon. We then have 6 days of sunrise in the west. So that'll be something that will be very unusual for us. And then 18 days of slowing rotation. The planet is actually going to slow way down and eventually stop. And that's about 5.9 days of rotation stoppage. And then the planet falls over. If you can just picture a top that you wind up, and it spins around, and then as it runs down, it gets wobbly, and then all of a sudden it stops, and then it falls over on its side. That's just exactly what's going to happen to the Earth, and it's going to do that as Planet X passes by overhead, and there'll be no mistaking. We'll all be able to see it and watch it. It's going to be fairly large, and it's coming with a huge tail behind it, and this tail is full of a lot of boulders and asteroids and moons and just all kinds of stuff. And the tail whips back and forth behind the planet, behind Planet X, and it will be dropping fireballs and meteorites and boulders onto the Earth as it comes by. So one of the things we want to make sure to do is to get in some sort of a shallow protective area with a roof over the top, something that will between you and these boulders that are dropping down.
The Southern California section of the San Andreas Fault is now primed for some action. San Andreas is the state's longest fault and one of the most dangerous. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt live in Los Angeles for us. So Jonathan, what are they seeing in this fault at this point?
Well, some pretty stark warnings, Martha. We haven't had a big one along the southern section of the San Andreas Fault as earthquake scientists define a big one since about 1857. But there's obviously been a lot of earthquake activity around the globe recently. You'll remember the terrible pictures we have seen from Ecuador, for instance. So now they're saying San Andreas Fault long overdue, and when you look at a map of the San Andreas Fault, it's about 800 miles in total in length, right along California, but it's that southern section near Los Angeles that they're concerned about. You see San Bernardino and Riverside marked there, suburbs of LA, and they say that that section looks ready to go. The quote, in fact, from Thomas Jordan, director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, was this, quote, "The springs on the San Andreas system have been wound very, very tight, and the Southern Andreas Fault in particular looks like it's locked, loaded, and ready to go." Frightening words, and every earthquake expert we've been hearing from in probably the last decade, Martha, has been saying the same thing. The one thing they can't agree on is exactly when it's coming.
And then the planet is going to, after it passes, the actual shift is only going to last about an hour. And it'll be a series of severe jolts. And once it's finished, then you can come out from this shallow place and you can start surviving. There'll be a lot going on, and you shouldn't plan on any of the first responders helping, because they will just be overwhelmed at that point. So everybody has to take some personal, has to get ready themselves. They have to take care of themselves and prepare. So that's the last 7 weeks. And what we're in right now...
One of the things that comes up in lieu of your remarks is we're experiencing this interesting reciprocal dynamic. We're taking an organismal technology, intelligence, and moving it out into the world, into machines. And we're taking a technology and moving it into organisms, that is genetic engineering. And in both cases, one of the threats that we perceived was forfeiting understanding. So in the case of AI, huge data sets informing very large machine learning algorithms that are predictive but incomprehensible. We're in some sense addressing with CRISPR-Cas9-like technologies, but there are so many factors that there's no hope of understanding the basic genetic mechanisms. So the future, one of the challenges for the future is the absence or forfeiting of human explanation and understanding.
I think we should be very careful about artificial intelligence. If I were to guess at what our biggest existential threat is, it's probably that. And with artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon.
7 of the 10. If you have a continuum of 1 to 10, and 10 was the pole shift, we're at a 7. And the 7 started in December with Indonesia beginning to sink. And it has progressively been sinking ever since then. Until now, it's getting extremely serious. That's Malaysia, Sumatra, Java, New Guinea, Thailand, the Philippines, Vietnam, and there's some sinking in Pakistan and also in India. And that is getting very serious now in Indonesia. It shows the people walking through the streets with water up to their chest level. And it shows kids going to school and sitting in the classroom with the water up to their legs. So they're doing the best they can, They keep thinking that this is going to drain. They're thinking that this is just horrendous flooding from the rains. But it hasn't been raining all that much. It's because their ground is sinking And they were not very high above sea level anyway. So now they're going below sea level. And even the fishermen over there are unable to go out and
finally,
fish because
I think a very interesting ethical question was raised.
So choppy and
how is this technology different from any other technology in the history of civilization? And the point is that this is a direct intervention into the nature of being human, with implications on our descendants that will be unintended. And so the responsibilities in this case are rather unique, because we're changing biology, we're redirecting the course of evolution.
So this development, right, which occurred in the sort of starting really about a decade ago, has driven your use of AI, which you probably don't know. You use it every day when you use any form of speech synthesis, right? That's all AI driven. It doesn't do it with a dictionary. It literally has been trained with patterns.
So what we do know is that every other previous industrial revolution, we've had major problems that have been caused, and we've spent the next decade, sometimes centuries, trying to fix them. And the same is going to happen again. That's inevitable. There are going to be downsides to where we're going with technology innovation. The big problem, though, is we really don't understand the pace of things. In the past, we've had time to adjust to the new world with tech innovation. This time, we have so many innovations coming so fast that as a society, we're struggling to keep up and understanding how to reduce the risks. So one of the big challenges we face is going ahead so fast that we end up with very, very complex systems that can fail because we don't understand the nature of those systems.
I think from a scientific view, the human body is a complex molecular machine, and aging and disease and death are molecular phenomena that can be fixed. Just as when a car gets old, you can fix it. You can replace the parts that are broken. You can repair the parts that you don't want to replace. And I think we're now at the point where we can scientifically confront the problem of ending aging and disease.
See, the reality is that the world around us is being reshaped by technology, by computing technology, in a very fundamental and an ever-accelerating way. The pace of change that we have now is the fastest that it has ever been.
That it's too dangerous for them. So they're in a serious situation, and we're talking about millions of people who have been routed out from their homes, and their rice paddies have all been flooded, so there's an extreme need over there now for more food. So do you have any questions yet, Mark? I can just go on from here.
It's interesting. Did Zeta Talk predict the problems in Japan?
Well, they have predicted where Japan comes in the 7 of 10 scenario, but it doesn't start the way it started now. They were aware of this earthquake coming, but this wasn't the trigger earthquake that we have to watch for. After Indonesia goes, then what's happening in the Pacific is it's getting smaller, it's getting shorter, it's folding together. And these massive plates that are way down...
In the last few years, something else has happened, and there are people beginning to work on something which is much broader, with much broader impact. And the easiest way to describe it is to describe the game of Go. If you're not familiar with it, it's an Asian game. It was thought to be incomputable because there's so many possibilities, right? Because it's the little pieces can be on a 19 by 19 square, and it's combinatorially impossible for computers to handle. And people were pretty sure of this. So a team that we acquired learned how to play games using computers. And what they do is you show it the game on the TV, and the computer figures out what the game is about, figures out what the game is doing, figures out who the players are, and figures out how to win and can beat the human. Right? It's pretty impressive. And they've won a series of awards for that. So with Go, they were able to build algorithms that would look at possibilities on this combinatoric space that were so complicated. And they were actually able to winnow them out. So think of this as a simple form of judgment. You know, I have all of these choices, but I was able to say I'm only going to focus on this area or this area or this area. And a lot of people believe that this, which is called reinforcement learning, is the beginning of something that's closer to our kind of intelligence.
New Zealand has been rattled by a new magnitude 6.2 earthquake off the coast of the South Island.
Good evening. New Zealand is tonight coping with yet another major earthquake and the death, damage, landslides and evacuations left in its wake.
What's happening in the Pacific is it's getting smaller, it's getting shorter, it's folding together. And these massive plates that are way down underneath the ground are moving. And Japan sits on 3 of these large plates. And with this earthquake, it jolted it so much that it moved 8 feet closer to the United States. And so it jolted all 3 of these plates. So those are in motion now. And the earthquake in the South Island of Japan, or not the earthquake, but the volcano has been erupting. But the Zetas told us to watch for the series of earthquakes in Japan that start in the southern island. And they will increasingly get worse and worse. So we're not seeing that yet, but we can expect that that's going to happen, I think, fairly soon. And they're just going to have a terrible time. I would, if I had any friends or family in Japan and they haven't left yet, I would tell them to leave now. They need to relocate. Japan is going to be toast before it's all over. But
will Japanese eventually be just inundated by water completely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much so. And the other thing that happened was that 250-mile stretch of their coastline up there along the northeastern part of Japan is falling into the ocean. It's fallen by 10 degrees so far, and it's slipping into a 20,000-foot drop-off. So, and it's a very large part of the island. And it's where the reactors are, and it's where the tsunami came in, and it's all in that area there. So it's just, you know, this is the European Space Agency that has released this information, and this has all been documented. So, and go ahead.
And I wanted to ask you, when I look at what's happening in the world right now, and I see this horrific nuclear disaster in Japan, which is probably the greatest disaster we've ever had in our history, and then I see almost nothing on the mainstream media. I wondered if you could comment on that.
Well, the mainstream media is being controlled by the powers that be, and the powers that be know all about the scenario and know what's coming, and they want to keep they want to keep us, the average Joe on the street, ignorant of the facts as long as they possibly can. And you know, they have built tremendous underground survival places, underground caverns that just go for miles underground to save themselves, and they're stocked highly.
They have found alarming levels of the chemical glyphosate. Now, the report says glyphosate is in many of America's most popular foods. Folks, this is a weed killer, glyphosate, and it was classified by the World Health Organization as a probable human carcinogen. Joining me now to talk about this is Dave Murphy, his founder and executive director at Food Democracy Now!, who issued the report. Dave, good to have you on tonight. Tell us, how dangerous is glyphosate? How dangerous is it?
Sure. Listen, glyphosate, you know, it's the main ingredient, chemical ingredient in Roundup, Monsanto's best-selling weed killer Roundup. And the issue is that the glyphosate use has exploded in the last 20 years because farmers in the U.S. and around the world have adopted genetically engineered crops, Roundup-ready crops that are engineered to survive being sprayed with large amounts of glyphosate, this weed killer. The problem really is, and we found this in these studies, we really had no idea where we were going to find it or how much we were going to find, But it's very shocking that the largest, the highest level that we found is in Cheerios, General Mills Cheerios, which is one of the first cereals that a mother feeds their child at between ages 6 months and a year. And those levels found in Cheerios, which are 1,125.3 parts per billion, are simply off the charts. And the question really is, what is the U.S. government doing to protect the American people? And the quick answer to that is it appears not much, unfortunately.
With medications and food and water, it's our tax dollar that is paid for all of that. And there are just so many of these, and it's for the powers that be and the people that they choose that they want to have survive this thing that's coming. So they're gonna keep quiet in the mainstream media as long as they possibly can. So you're not being given what's happening. The reason we know about it is if you will go on to the website, Earth Changes Pole Shift Ning, N-I-N-G. If you go on there and join that website, you will get the latest information from all around the world of what's happening, because there are people, average people all over the world that are plugged into this website that are feeding it with all this information. And there are pictures of everything that's happening in Indonesia. So this is one place for everybody to go. And then there's also a section on how to survive and what you need to do to survive. And also, your listeners should be going to the website zetatalk.com. That's Z as in zebra, ETATALK.com. And they will be getting the straight scoop on what's happening, and they can keep up with everything. This shift is going to be quite severe. And it always isn't always that way. Sometimes when Planet X comes through, every 3,600 years, it's further away from the Earth as it passes. But this is going to be a close passage. It's only going to be about 14 million miles from the Earth when it passes overhead. And that's pretty close when you're talking about these huge celestial beings. Actually, the planet is 4 times the diameter of the Earth, and it's 23 times the mass of the Earth. So he's a pretty big dude in the neighborhood, and this electromagnetic push and pull and little war that's going on now is just going to increase the closer it gets, and Planet X will win. So we need to prepare, and I think you had a question about the color red. Did you have a question?
Well, let's get, I have a caller here, and I want to take that if you're ready for that.
Sure.
831, state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Astrid. And
Astrid, how are you?
Yeah, how are you? We have a chat room. We want our chat room back. So could you...
We're having
could you put up the chat room, because there's websites that have been stated here that are really interesting for us. I wanted to comment on the fact that everything that's been said is true, and unfortunately nobody knows about it because it's just not said. So it's, some people may come to your show, and I'm a big fan of yours, of course. But some people may come to your show and think, well, where is this information coming from? Well, if you just, Google and look up what's happening in all the parts of the countries that your guest has just mentioned, you'll see that this is true. This is real. People are flooding and going around with, waist-high waters, thinking that it's going to just drop away like it usually does downriver, right? But this time the river isn't going down anymore.
Right. Yes.
I'm interested in Planet X because I absolutely know nothing about it, in the sense that I channel the information too, but I don't have names to associate my channelings, So basically I'm always confirmed by what others say or validated. This planet, how big is it?
Well, it's quite big. It's 4 times the diameter of the Earth, and it's 23 times the mass, so it's a big planet.
Now, it belongs to, what belt does it belong to?
It comes on a sling orbit, an elliptical sling orbit, and it goes way out beyond the solar system, and then comes back through. I don't know.
Isn't it associated to its own sun? Because I see personally a second sun.
Yes, there is supposed to be a second sun there, but our sun also has a second sun that is now dead. I think if we could get into the astronomy of it, and it's very fascinating, but we're not seeing the other sun, and we don't have to worry about the other sun. It's actually this brown dwarf. They're calling it a brown dwarf, this planet that's coming through. It's really what we need to be concerned about.
Yes, because of its velocity and its...
Yeah, and another thing is we can't pinpoint when it's going to happen because the Zetas are not allowed to tell us the exact time. They can only give us certain indications as we're progressing along. But...
and who do you name the Zetas? Who are the Zetas to you?
The Zetas are extraterrestrials that are from Zeta Reticuli, and they are here on the planet, and they are around the planet in their ships, and they are giving the information to Nancy Leader, who is their emissary here. She's in Wisconsin, and she's been putting out this information since 1995. And they have an incredible...
Disturbing find in the Hamptons, a canal full of tens of thousands of dead fish. What could have caused this?
Dead fish as far as the eye can see.
There are thousands and thousands of them down there.
The sight forced many to do a double take.
I thought it was frost in the morning.
Many couldn't believe what they were seeing and smelling, lining up to watch and take pictures.
First time I've seen this in my whole life.
Track record. It's just... if they say it's going to happen, you can pretty much put your money on it. The only thing that they've been wrong about sometimes is the timing of certain things. But that's a lot of this stuff is in man's hand, and they can't predict the timing.
Right.
That well. But
right.
I'm so glad that you know about this and that you realize what's happening around the planet. And I wanted to give you 2 more things to try and find, because it's just full of information about this. And there are 2 videos or movies that are out now on the internet. One is called Planet X, the movie, and that's on Zeta Talk. That just came out, and it's about 2.5 hours, and it's just filled with all kinds of information. And then the other one is called Nibiru by Jim Nichols, and I just found that tonight. That's been put out by UFO TV, and you can find that on YouTube. It's excellent, and UFO TV has just taken on my new video, and it should be coming out shortly too. So if you're on Hulu or YouTube, or I don't know the names of all those other places that they put them on.
It's so confusing.
Oh, yeah. I did a workshop for 3 hours at the local college, and they videoed it, and UFO TV picked it up, and they liked it. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't want to take over Mark's show here because I have a tendency of talking a lot. But okay, one of the comments that came immediately upon the topic of the show is the fact that NASA absolutely refutes the existence of Planet X.
Yes, that's correct. They do, and the latest thing that they're trying, they've got several ploys up their sleeve that they're going to try. And one is trying to make you believe that it's the sun that's causing this and the solar flares, etc., because they will not tell you about Planet X. So they would rather you think it's the sun. And truly, if it's the sun, what can be done about it, and blah, blah, blah. Right. The other thing is just recently they've come out with Elenen, the comet Elenen, and they're now playing that up big. And as we get closer to Nibiru passing, that's going to be in the news. They're going to be hyping that up. They're going to be showing it. And they want you to think that this is what you need to be worried about. Anything other than what is actually happening. They want to get people confused. And if Elenen comes then and nothing particularly happens when it passes, and then the people can say, oh, well, that was what the problem was, and now we don't have to worry about anything. Significant comet. It's not going to do any damage to the planet, and it's just a ball of dirty ice out there. So we needn't be concerned about that at all. Right. So they'll be trying all kinds of things between now and the passage to try and get people off the trail. And the reason is because if you knew this, you only had about 12 months left in your life here, how would you spend your time?
I know that's a question everybody should be asking every day. You know, how would you best live your life today?
Yeah, and there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people that wouldn't go to their job. A lot of people would stop paying their bills. A lot of people would cash in their credit cards, and on and on and on. And that's what they don't want to have happen. They want to keep peace and order as long as they possibly can. And then when that starts to get, it's happening in the Middle East, but when it starts happening in the United States, then they will declare martial law. Right. And then they will, they'll come and put everybody in the FEMA camps or wherever. But they have taken care of themselves. They have the passes into these underground.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah. And if the Zetas say that their plan is not going to work, and the Zetas are trying to level the playing field between the powers that be and the common man. And if they do not help the common man and don't tell us what's happening, then woe be to them, because they're not going to survive either. And
so what do those Zetas look like? Because I have a visual, but I'm not sure we're talking about the same people.
Well, for the most part, they're gray, and many of them are small with the cat eyes, the black cat eyes. Many of them, though, are tall and slim, gray with the cat eyes. That's pretty typical of Zeta. But I want to say that we see an awful lot of extraterrestrials in the gray zone because our eyes are just accustomed to this particular color scheme that we have here. But there are many, many other colors that we don't know about. And when we see those other colors, they just look gray to our eyes. So a lot of times we just call everybody gray. But, I think that the grays have gotten kind of a bad rap.
I was going to say, I even have, I know personally of a young boy here who sees, feels, and sees, and even his friends see them, these grays, and he says that they are not good. They don't feel good. They are, they have ill intentions, and they, perturb and give nightmares and do things. For a lot of people, fear was brought up when they saw the grays. I mean, this was something totally unexpected, something extremely foreign, and people didn't know how to handle it. And we were very fearful in the beginning. But they've been working on our subconscious minds now for about 60 years. And the level of fear has gone way, way down to the point now where there could be open contact.
This led Putin to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. President Duterte says the Philippines just might follow suit.
If China and Russia would decide to create a new order, everybody first to join.
This is another poem which is written by me. It is a poem of the future and a warning to all that if we don't heed the warnings, we will all fall. Something troubled thee, this inner thing. For many days I looked within and felt a presence some hold deep within. Alas, after days I dreamt this thing. I was troubled by this troubling thing. To thee what I found was disturbing within. A horrid thing within my dream. I saw these shapes. In the dark they lurk. It had no shape for thee to see. This thing that's within our reality. I called out, who art thou who approaches thee? With a chilling voice it replied to me. It said, I am the future for humanity. And out from the shadows came next to thee other strange things with no shapes nor sound. They moved closer yet closer, and I screamed out loud, stop, but they refused to be still, I found. I asked, why art thou here? I demand you tell thee. In a threatening voice, I am hell, don't you see? Very soon now, in time, the night will be here, and you'll see. In a short space of time, many will be gone because of me. People have no fear of what I bring along, and have lost their fear of doing wrong. So I wait for the time as the time draws near. Deceived are those who have no care. Love is bad and bad is good. So the earth no longer knows what it means to be good. Soon time will come for all to see. The Lamb's book of life will be closed to humanity, and I will be free to reap those souls who have lost their way, and ensnared are all those. They refuse to believe. In the darkness I live, and when they see me, in terror I hold the power of death when I come for their souls. So I live in the darkness I live. When they see me in terror, they shall shriek and resist. My terrifying gift is the kiss of death. As a parting gift, I do possess. But those who awaken and see God's light will send me back to where there is no light. The final call is almost here, so make the call before I am here.
People would survive it. Before, they felt that people would just go off, half crazy if they were to land and try to have some kind of open contact. And the other thing is that during the abduction phase, when many people were being picked up by the Greys and were being used for the hybrid breeding program, there was a lot of fear instilled in those people because they were taken from their beds at night. But you can blame that on President Eisenhower and our government, because it was Eisenhower that signed the treaty with the Greys saying they could do this, and saying that they had to wipe their memory off so that they couldn't remember it, and they had to deposit the people back where they picked them up. And then they had to give a list every so often to MJ12 of the people that they were using in this hybrid breeding program. Now, I think it's just man's nature to become frightened of something that they don't know about. And
well,
I think
the thing is, if knowing what man is capable of, you can easily imagine what other beings are capable of.
Well, see, that's our problem. We're so warlike to begin with, and so we think everybody else is warlike. Listen, they've been around forever, and if they had wanted to eat us for lunch, they'd have done it a long time ago.
I know.
That is not what they're about. That's for sure.
Right. But okay, so
I would encourage your friends not to be afraid of them. The ones that are here now are not hostile at all. There's no reason to fear them. And what I say in these workshops that I do, there's always somebody that brings this up in the workshop. If you need to be afraid of somebody, be very afraid of the government. Be very afraid of the CIA. Be very afraid of the powers that be, because they would just as soon snub you out as have to worry about feeding you. So I think that's where that stands.
I got lots to say about that one too, but maybe Mark wants to take the show over.
Okay. Well, nice talking to you.
It was lovely talking to you too.
Where are you calling from, Astrid?
I'm in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Santa Cruz Mountains
in California.
California. Ah, okay.
Yes.
You want to be, how far from the ocean is that?
30 minutes door to door.
So you're not 100 miles?
No, but I'm up 500, I think.
Well, after the shift...
Feet.
Yeah, after the shift, the oceans are going to be about 700 feet higher than they are now.
No, I know. You know, when I bought when we bought the property, my husband loved the mountains. I'm not so much a mountain person. I love the view of the oceans, and I do believe I'm going to get it.
and you know, that's okay. If you decide, you know, there are a lot of people that are deciding they don't want to stay around, they don't want to survive, they don't want to start from scratch because it's going to be back to the old caveman days.
Absolutely. Well, in a sense, because they're going to be secluded, and they've already. I mean, this is the funny part of all this government thing is that, first of all, you've noticed that this information is coming out in big ways these days. They're allowing us to talk, right? And so for the communities that understand this, like the one I'm in, they're becoming, they're already, and they're more and more organic, self-sustainable, etc., etc. So, you know, I am blessed, and I try to share the aha moments and the wisdoms that I get from what I experience of all this. And it's hard because I have no idea how many people out there just don't get it, you know.
Well, unfortunately, there are still an awful lot of them that don't get it, but every day more and more are waking up. So we have to just keep
and that's
working.
The thing. They're all getting this psychic thing. You know, they're all getting experiences that they never could imagine before. Some are getting frightened, but many are. I mean, how many psychics do you have in the world right now talking as a psychic? You know, it's crazy. It's never. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Well, it is. And the other thing that's all good is that we are going through a spiritual transformation right now. And we are being revved up. We're having 5 more chakras activated. Our carbon-based cells are being changed to crystalline-based cells. And so that we can operate in this physical body in the 4th and the 5th dimension. Because that's where we're going.
Well, that's what we see. That's it's coming through visually. You know?
And that's the good part of this message. I think, to give to people, that there is something very wonderful coming, and we just need to stay in our love, in our light, and it's going to be great. I mean, this is a mass ascension in consciousness.
Yes, it is.
And that only happens very rarely in the scheme of things. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of years before this happens. So and we're privileged to be here, to be going through it. And none of us are here by accident. We all chose to be here. You may not remember it, but it's a wonderful time to be on the planet.
I know. Thank you for being a guest on my show. You're wonderful.
We're going to be given a wonderful opportunity here to grow spiritually in helping our neighbors through all of this, helping the people that don't hear about it or don't understand what's happening. And I think especially the children. There are going to be so many children that are going to be without parents. And these children are going to need help from all of us. So we need to keep that in mind.
Yes. Help your neighbors, guys. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Astrid. And I want to let everyone know the chat room did finally come up. Blog Talk had a site-wide problem with the chat. So we're back up, and let me give a quick shout-out to the people that finally got in. I'd like to thank Arc Radio, Alien Talk, Erica, Domenica Amore, Earth Tuner. We got a couple guests with the auto-generated numbers and IQXX. I always have a hard time saying that. Thanks, guys, for coming to the show. So, we are talking about safe places as well. Aren't there some places that are a little more safer than others, where you can kind of ride out the passage of Planet X?
Yes, there are. And I want to say that on ZetaTalk.com, there is a part of it that says safe locations. And if you click on there, you can find your state, and in some cases you can even find the actual city that you're living in. Now, as far as Ohio, and I have a very soft spot in my heart for Ohio since I was born and raised there, what they're saying about Ohio, we're going to have the new Madrid Fault that's going to split, and that goes all the way from New Orleans up through Illinois, up to the Great Lakes, and then on to the St. Lawrence Seaway. That's all going to open up, and the Great Lakes are going to drain down into the Mississippi. Now, Ohio is good, except if you're near the Ohio River. That's going to flood and go way over the banks, and then there's going to be a Great Lake that will be partially in Ohio on the western side. So you want to go east in Ohio.
I'm central. I'm east central.
Good. Are you close to the mountains? Now, I forget. Where were the Allegheny Mountains?
Right. There's a lot of hills here.
I want to get up into those mountains.
Okay.
The Allegheny Mountains. That's going to be the safest part. Now, a lot of people will choose not to move, and they'll just stay where they've been, and that's fine. Even then, there are things that you can do. You can stock up on your food and water and medications. Tools, any kind of tools are going to come in handy. And you need to plan for a camper's life. So, it wouldn't hurt to have a tent and have some cooking utensils. But it's going to be a long time before the place is able to rebuild. For those people who are living close to the oceans, you need to get 100 miles inland, and if you can get to 1,000 feet in altitude, fine. That would be great. And you want to locate out of the cities. The cities are going to become a death trap. So you need to go rural, and with your small group of family or friends or whoever it is you choose to survive with. But I think the spiritual preparation is even more important than the physical preparation. And you're being given an opportunity now to know what's coming, so you have some time. You have time now to seek your own inner spiritual guidance and to make peace with your own God, and especially your families and friends, to ask forgiveness if necessary and forgive if necessary. Time is short, and I want everybody to understand that there isn't any death. We just drop the physical body and go on. We have other bodies, etheric bodies, and we have consciousness, and we continue on. So there is no death. We need to remember that. The entire solar system is going through what we're going through. All the planets are heating up, and we're heating up, but it's from the influence of Planet X. The core of the Earth is getting hotter and hotter. And they just reported some underground fires in India. And this is what's happening. As these tectonic plates move, they let the methane gas escape, and with a hot core down underneath, it causes an explosion, it causes fires. So there's a lot of this happening, and you probably have heard about all of these sinkholes that have been opening up all over the place, and these huge crevices that they're finding throughout the world the planet's cracking. It's going through extreme stress right now. And it's going to get worse as we go. So
I wanted to ask a few questions that kind of lay the historical background. And some of this, you're probably familiar with a lot of it. Some of it you may not be, and that's okay. And there's one example I wanted to bring up, and it was where U.S. News and World Report had an article. It was dated September 10th, 1984. Planet X, is it really out there? Is that an article you ever heard of? Or?
No, it doesn't ring a bell right now. What year was that?
It was a U.S. News and World Report article.
What year?
It was back in 84, actually.
84. So that was just a year after they discovered Planet X. It was seen on, it was seen on infrared telescope from the South Pole in 1983. But they were keeping that quiet.
Now, that was the IRAS, the infrared astronomical satellite.
Yes.
That was the Earth in a polar orbit, and I think it detected the heat of that object at that time. I think in 83 it was supposed to be 50 billion miles away.
Yeah, something like that. And that's, they can't tell us when it's going to hit, even though they know they know how far away it is from us, because the speed is altered. The speed is not steady. It depends upon all of the solar winds and the particles that are bouncing around. So they can't judge exactly when it's going to happen. But right now, it's less than halfway between us and the sun. So we know that it's down around 40 million miles away or less, and we're taking pictures of it all around the world. So if you go out and, chances are, if you have about 3 pairs of sunglasses, it's coming from the sun, the direction of the sun. You can only catch it during the day, and the best times to look for it is sunrise and sunset. Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, that's okay. Like you had mentioned earlier, the one movie that Jim Nichols has is really good, and a lot of the information I got here does come from that movie. And according to his movie, that object, whatever that object is, covered 43 billion miles in 8 years. Does that sound?
8 years. 43 billion in 8 years. Well, we've known about it for 27 years. That's incredible to me. I mean, why has it taken it 27 years from the time we saw it at the edge of our solar system? It hadn't come in yet. But it seems to me that it should have been totally all the way through our solar system by now, but it hasn't. But it doesn't.
I'm reading a book called Date with the Gods by Charles A. Silva, and it was published in 1977, and it talks about some giant object that's traveling. It says it travels parallel with our solar system. So I don't know if that giant object is the actual, if there is another star.
It sounds like it from the title of the book, Date with the Gods, because our gods are actually on that planet Nibiru. The Annunaki, they were the ones that created the human species. So those are our gods, the Nephilim of the Bible. And so it sounds to me like that's what he is referring to here.
It's a very good book, I have to say. It's tremendous. I recommend it a lot.
Date with the Gods, okay?
Date with the Gods, Charles A. Silva. I think you'll find it fascinating. So do you think, okay, well, let's get one thing straight. There is a brown dwarf, correct? I've heard there is a brown dwarf, and then I've heard there's also a planet associated with that brown dwarf. Is that incorrect, or?
I think it's the same thing.
Okay.
I think they're intermixing those concepts of brown dwarf and planet.
Did the Anunnaki live on one of the moons associated to that brown dwarf?
No, they actually live on the brown dwarf.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these Anunnaki are giants.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So.
And, yeah.
8 to 10 feet tall, or?
Yes, I would say at least 10 feet tall. Yeah. These are big guys. I had a couple of them in a dream one night. And I just knew when they walked into the room that they were Anunnaki. And they were big. They were tall. There was one that was taller than the other one. And they just came in and observed. I was involved in some kind of a project in this room, and they just walked in and they were just observing. They were very quiet. They were not menacing at all. And they had metal helmets on their head, similar to, I'm trying to think where I've seen them before, but they fit very close to the head, almost like an aviator's leather cap, but it was metal, and there were certain symbols that were stamped in the metal on these particular things, and I was so fascinated by that for some reason. But anyway, they're not going to be visiting us this trip around. They're not permitted now to come onto the earth this time. And it's because we're going through this spiritual transformation at the same time. And we're not permitted to, like in the movie Deep Impact, we're not permitted to go up into space and try and blam them out of the sky either. So if we attempted that, if we would attempt to shoot a missile off to change its course, it wouldn't be allowed.
Do you think the Anunnaki violated some kind of cosmic law when they genetically manipulated early primates and created man?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the universe is just teeming with different races and different beings and species, and that's just part of when they are colonizing a new planet to start a species or to change a species. There is the Council of Worlds that have a certain amount of jurisdiction over what can be done or not be done, and there's certain rules that they can't interfere at certain times. But I don't think that was one of them. I think that was permitted. And just like the hybrid breeding program this time, permission was given from the Council of Worlds to upgrade the human species. And that's what was done, half Zeta, half human. And they have upgraded the species to a beautiful species. I have a picture of a young Zeta human boy. Beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And they're going to be much more spiritual, much more intelligent, a lot less in the way of sickness and disease, and they're not going to have this war-like nature that we've got. They were able to breed out this hostility and this instant rage that we have. So they're going to be a wonderful race, and they're going to be the ones that will be inhabiting the planet in about 100 years, and the planet will be in the fourth dimension at that time. So the planet Earth is going through the same thing we're going through right now.
Do you think you'll be able to post a picture of that child someday on your website?
Yes, I think I probably could. It was drawn by David D.U.M.B.S. And Dave, let me give you his email, and you may find it on his website. It's Dave, D-A-V-O-D-E-E-S, Dave O'Dees at hotmail.com. And you might be able to find that. He's got other pictures, too, of what it will look like as Planet X comes in. And there is one that is just incredible of the tsunami off the California coast and just about to crash into San Francisco. It's really a picture, I'll tell you. And he's... Go ahead.
So Planet X is the same planet that Zachariah Sitchin called Nibiru?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
And did Atlantis and Lemuria get destroyed during the passage of Nibiru in previous ages?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if it was Planet X or if it was nuclear at that time. I do know that the last time Planet X came through, it was the time of Moses out of Egypt. That was a passage, and the time before that, or another time, was I've drawn a blank. It's with the Ark, Noah and the Ark and the big flood. That was one of the times also. But I have never read that that's what happened when Mu and Atlantis went down. It's going to be interesting because a lot of the land that was inhabited on Mu and Atlantis will be coming up this time, will be surfacing as other land masses of ours go under. So when there is a map, there's a new map. The Zetas have a map on their website of what they're showing what it'll be like afterwards. But there's also a map that the U.S. Navy has put out, has created, about in the future what the United States is going to look like. And that's real interesting. Everybody should look up U.S. Navy map of the future. And you'll see that the whole East Coast is underwater. Florida is underwater. The South, in the Gulf, that's all underwater, and it goes all the way up through. Illinois is totally gone.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think we have another caller. We've only got 4 minutes left.
Oh, sure.
I want to go ahead and try to take this call, if that's okay. 804, state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, my name is Hugh. I'm calling from Virginia, and I just came onto the program, and I'm totally infatuated with Ann is saying, and I have a lot of spirituality in my background. My wife's name was Ann. I don't have email, but there is a blog that has my phone number if I could give it to her.
Okay.
What
was your name? What was your name again?
Hugh, H-U-G-H.
Okay. And you're from Virginia?
Yes. If you just Google creativity, the number 777.com, that will bring it up. But I have so many things, messages that I'm trying to get out to help people to become more spiritual and to show we all have unlimited creativity. And I have a whole history of things that can be documented in my life, that I'm standing my truth.
Oh, good. And it's going to be very important that everybody walks their talk. Absolutely. And
that's why I'm so glad I was able to connect tonight. And if you, again, I don't have email, but if you could please call me, I think it will be very worthwhile when you begin to investigate me.
Do you have a computer?
I just have a web browser on my cell phone.
Okay. I was going to say, you can just contact me through my website.
I pulled it up, but you don't have a phone number on there.
Yeah, I usually don't do phone business. I would rather do it by email, or but you don't have email, correct?
No, but my number is on the blog. The blog was put on the internet by a gentleman who interviewed me. There's a letter from President Obama to me related to the economy, as well as a poem that's in the Ronald Reagan Library. Now that in itself, to put those two presidents on that little blog that was put on the internet in 2009, then tied into the fact that President Obama said he was going to read a biography about President Reagan over the Christmas vacation. There's obviously some spirituality there, because the odds are just astronomical for that to happen.
Well, you know, the Zetas say that Obama is a star person, that he has a star soul, and they have always been very supportive of him. And they say that they are talking to him, and he is listening. But I want to say something about anybody that's in our politics. It doesn't matter whether it's Democrat or Republican. They're just two sides of the same coin. And they just are puppets. They're doing what the powers that be tell them to do. So it doesn't matter who wins the elections.
That's exactly right. And I was written up in a front-page Wall Street Journal article where I exposed a former federal government bureaucrat back in the 80s. I believe he was a CIA operative. He was engaged to the daughter of Jim Wright, who went on to become the Speaker of the House. That article put Mr. Wright in the spotlight, and I was interviewed by another bureau chief who eventually, he dogged Mr. Wright until eventually he resigned from office in shame. So I know how to weed out the corruption in government and business, and that's part of my big mission. That's why I wanted you to pick up on.
Oh, good. That's excellent. We need more people like you. And, you know, now there are more and more whistleblowers all the time that are telling what they've been involved with and all of the horrible things that have been going on behind the scenes. So it's just important to stay positive, stay aware, be in love and humility.
Yes, I'm working with American Indians and North American Indians and indigenous peoples from all around the world right now, because they know what to do for our future and how to heal the earth.
Oh yeah, and they know all about what's happening, and they have known about it for a long, long time.
Yeah,
and there'll be a lot of us that will be asking them for help through all of this.
That's exactly right, and that's why I'm trying to empower them in the business sense right now, so they can get what they need to get up and running on the internet until that crashes, and then they'll have their communication intact.
God, let's hope they don't pass that kill bill, that kill switch thing where Obama can turn the internet off.
Well, they needed to spy on us, but since you mentioned it, we all should be looking back at who's looking at us and why.
Yeah. I think at this point in time, you know, I've just gotten to the point where I don't care. I mean, I'm just putting it out there as often as I can, and hopefully it's helping some people. And, you know, they've had my phone tapped a long time ago when I was working with Hynek. And I was also given migraine headaches for 10 years during that time also. So, you know, it's just, I feel sorry for them because they will eventually have to pay for all this stuff.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, I don't know their mentality, even if they went into these underground cities and thought they're going to live down there for 100 years until things got better. They're going to go crazy, number one, and you can't take it with you. We're spiritual beings, so, you know, whatever they're accumulating for themselves, even if they left it to a grandchild, they're going to piddle it away or become a dope addict or whatever. So they have to wake up and realize the laws of attraction are very basic and very simple. You put out good, you'll get good back. So
I wanted to mention, too, that if anybody wants to buy an apartment underground, I think the name of the company is Vivos, V-I-V-O-S, and they are selling fully stocked apartments for $50,000 per adult and $25,000 per child. That's not, there aren't many of us who can afford that.
Well, the money's not going to be worth anything pretty soon, so
that's true. Even if you're buying gold and you're hoarding gold, you know, if there's no food to eat, what good is the gold going to do you?
That's exactly right.
We need, we're going to be camping, and we need to plant our gardens and to tend the sheep and the chickens, and that's actually what Nancy Leader is doing up in Wisconsin. She is certainly walking her talk. She's an example for all of us.
Yes. Well, I know there's only a little bit left of the show, but I'm so happy to come into contact with you, and I hope if you will take an interest, I think I can give you more.
Hugh, what is your last name?
My last name is Traulsen, T like Tom, R-A-U-L-S-E-N like Nancy.
Okay.
And that last name also has global recognition. My father manufactured commercial refrigerators and freezers for hotels, hospitals, schools, restaurants. They're all around the country and around the world. He passed on in 1990. He was a busy guy. He was married 7 times, but to show my connectivity to a lot of things, his 6th wife, if you Google Regine Rolson, you'll see she married the controller for New York City back in 1996, William J. Diamond. They were married at Gracie Mansion by Rudolph Giuliani, who was mayor at the time.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in.
Okay, thank you, and God bless you for all your work.
You too.
Thanks, Hugh. I appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Well, Ann, I extended the show just a little bit so you guys just wouldn't get cut off, but you've already gone over time a little bit here, so I don't want to. You're Eastern time, right? Or are you?
No, we're Pacific now.
Okay, so it's not quite as bad for you.
No, it isn't. It's just 5 after 8 here now.
Okay, but I do appreciate you coming on the show again and giving us a little more food for thought, and it's been very fascinating. Let's hope, and I'm always holding out for a little hope that it's not going to be as bad as people think.
Well, good. I think we should all hold out a little hope. There's nothing wrong with that. Not at all. And thank you so much, Mark, for having me again.
It's been my pleasure, and Ann, thank you, and have a good evening.